You know, it's interesting, even when you look into the background, it's a beautiful setting. It's a beautiful place. That's the one thing I notice when I go to other ranches. And even when it comes to footing, like, you know, I can pick up this footing,
Right.
and you think it's dirt or sand, but it's
Right.
not. What is it?
Well, it's a special sand that is slightly more angular, so it doesn't break down as quickly.
Right.
But you can't have it too coarse, because then it's not buoyant, and then it's mixed with ground up Nike tennis shoes.
Absolutely, which is very, very good. And obviously it is very expensive, but
Yeah.
if you got the money to get it, it's the
The
best footing
of the
you can
best,
have.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to horses, what's one or two things that the average person may not know? Certain people get into this business and they want to have a horse because they could say they have a horse,
Right.
but they may not come out and see their horse.
Right.
And we're not giving any names or anything away like that, but it can be a tough business. It's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And people don't think of what might go into the process if you have a problem with your horse. If you have to give it a shot, or if it starts to colic, or the water, simple thing like the water may be dirty and you got to change it. All the little simple things. What's something that they may not know? Just one or two things off of your head.
Oh my gosh, there are so many. That's a tough question. There are so many things that they're such strong animals, yet they're so delicate.
Absolutely.
You know, and they can live out in a field and survive on their own, yet be in an environment like this, and here in southern California, where you have the drier climate, you have to be very concerned then about the quality of the hoof and not letting the hoof break down, because there's not much moisture in the air. And so then
That's interesting. I didn't even know that one.
Well, there ties in the TheraPlate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that increases the blood circulation, and you know, so there are other ways, and they're not getting the nutrients that they would normally get from grass. So you have to supplement in other ways. And so that to me is interesting moving out here.
And you know, I'm going to ask you the second thing about that too, which would be good. But first I wanted to say she mentioned the TheraPlate. TheraPlate is something that's quite interesting. We're going to show you a little bit of that when we go up there. Because when I met her in Sacramento at the finals, she had this TheraPlate, but I went over to another friend who's become a friend, and she actually had the TheraPlate, and it's kind of interesting. So when I mention TheraPlate, what's the first thing that you think of, how you describe it until they get a chance to see it?
I would describe it as a plate that the horses stand on that it's not a vibrating plate, but it's a vortex motion, circular motion, and it is something that was developed by NASA actually originally to help increase bone density for astronauts that were going up in space. So not only does it's proven to help increase bone density, but it's also really has a significant impact on blood circulation. And so therefore, if you have a horse, say, that's colicking, or a horse that has a pulled suspensory or something along those lines, it can increase the rate at which they heal, or actually help them come out of a colic significantly.
And your horse, Solei, has been on that, which is interesting.
She loves it.
Yeah, you do 20 minutes before.
I do 20 minutes before a ride, and I can tell when she hasn't been on the TheraPlate when I ride her versus when she has been on. And when she has been on, she comes out just so much more supple and loose and elastic versus, you know, a little tight and, you know, just like how we get up in the morning, you know, just a little bit stiff and everything. Yeah. And it makes a significant difference, I think.
Now, when you look at horses, when someone comes and says, you know, I want to get a horse, and what would be your first question, who's not in the dressage world?
My first question to them would be, A, what is your goal?
You mean why?
You mean why would you want to spend all this money?
Yes.
No, it is a very, very rewarding sport, but it is an expensive sport. And the expense, in my mind, comes from all the hard work that you have to put into them. And sometimes you don't get a lot out in the end. But having said that, my first question to them is, what are you, what's your goal? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a horse for yourself? Are you a beginner rider? Are you an advanced rider? Are you looking to be the owner that's proud and to have this really good professional ride your horse?
Right.
And, then you say, well, what's your goal then with that horse?
Oh, that's good.
Go to the Olympics? There's a whole gamut of what people are looking for and what they need. So it's
with that, how would you describe, for people who don't know, how would you describe the world of dressage?
In the sense of what it means?
For a person who has no idea, when we look at this dressage arena, which has got this beautiful footing, and they see the letters F and D, you know, how do you describe that? Because there's a lot of people that don't know.
Right. It's a sport that started in the cavalry so that the riders could have just the lightest of aids, the invisible aids, to get get the horses rather to move to one side or the other, or jump, or do whatever they needed to do at any given moment. And it's something that embodies what a horse would do out in nature on their own.